Hello guys, my name is Elena. In this video, I want to tell you about mosaic culture. Okay, cultural mosaic is the mix of ethnic groups, languages, and cultures that coexist within. The idea of a cultural mosaic is indeed to champion an ideal of multiculturalism. Multiculturalism is an ideology that recognizes or glorifies differences, but the differences refer to are differences between people or cultural differences. A multicultural society that is one that includes several cultural communities with their overlapping, but nonetheless distinct conception of the world, system of meaning, values, forms of social organization, histories, custom, and practice. Okay, the next is pro. That is, people are more tolerant of other ethnic, better for immigrants. People are more likely to learn English. People feel welcomed and can help separate conflicting group. Okay, now is cons. People are not very unified. Loss of culture of the host country. It highlights difference and can increase hate crimes. Okay, for the example is South Africa, Singapore, Malaysia, and of course Canada is mosaic culture.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Nabila Khairunisa and I want to tell you about the melting pot culture. The melting pot is a metaphor for a heterogeneous society to becoming a more homogeneous. The different elements melting together into a harmonious world with a common culture. And it is particularly used to describe the assimilations of immigrants to USA. An assimilation is a mixing of two different cultures in a local community, like one's family or one's country, so that the new culture can be created. There are pro and contra about melting pots. The pro are: one, people are more unified; two, already unified at the time of crisis; three, increase a standard of living; four, can provide indigenous people with skill to success. And the contra are: for one, people are less tolerant with other ethnic; two, um, example of assimilation is with the First Nation; three, loss of many characteristic culture; and the last, people are expected to shape their own culture. The countries that are used melting pots are American, New Zealand, Australia, Mexico, Uruguay. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Rizky Kasyaputra and I will explain about melting pot in Indonesia. Multicultural in Indonesia. Multicultural society is a society that consists of several kinds of cultural communities with all their advantages, with slight differences in conceptions of the world, a system of meanings, values, form of social organization, history, custom, and habits. Indonesian society is a society with a very complex level of diversity. Communities with various diversity are known as multicultural societies. Multiculturalism can be defined as the diversity of difference between one culture and another, so that a multicultural society can be interpreted as a group of people who live in a place that has its own culture and characteristics that can be distinguished between one society and another. Each society will produce its own culture, which will become a characteristic of that society. Culture is something that sticks to human life. Culture is born from human interaction with environment. Therefore, culture are something is that unique to each community. Culture has the character of meeting the needs to the community itself. Culture is a way for society to solve its own problem. A society with various culture needs needs a top to unite it become a whole and large nation. Failure to elect the process of unifying a nation causes failure to become a nation and damage or loss of a culture. At the present time, the society of a country deserve deserve in terms of ethnicity, culture, religion has the idea of developing the same national spirit. The idea is formulated in concept of plural society, where a pattern of relationship that recognize equality of race, ethnicity and between groups and recognize the recognition of the equal rights in the political, civil, economic and other fields. However, it given an important meaning in the plurality of society. In a pluralistic society, there are a various social, cultural, and political differences that are confirmed as law or as social conventions that distinguish those are classified as dominant as opposed to the minority. Then it becomes a concept of melting pot and salad bowl. And that's from me. Thank you.
Dari Saputra, I will continue to explain about melting pot culture Indonesia. The concept of melting pot is to melt various different elements into a new formation. The picture may be similar to pecel seasoning. Peanuts, chilies, maybe also kefir, lime leaf, salt and other ingredients are melted together into pecel spices. Then a red, black and brownish lump form. Look no future than the original shape of the beans. It's also difficult to find where the salt, kefir, lime leaves or chilies are. The original form of all ingredients has been melted to form a new formation into form of pecel seasoning. In the picture of nation, in the concept of melting pot, the identity of its ethnicity or tribe is eliminated. There are no Sundas, Betawi, Timors, Papuan, Dayaks anymore. There's only one large tribe called Indonesia. The problem is the Indonesian nation consists of many ethnic groups whose cultures are very diverse. According to one tribe, an action can be a natural thing, but it's categorized as unnatural for another tribe. Revolts like that are natural. When a company is forced to behave different or even against its culture, the tendency is to resist. That's what happens when you have to melt the ingredient for the pecel seasoning. It could be that some nuts are too hard, so they cannot be melted. When forced, the peanuts jump from the mortar and then separate themselves to become separated. Out of the new formation, collect the pecel spices. If the concept of melting pot is applied in national life, it's not impossible that ethnic groups who feel forced to fuse will prefer to leave and become separatists. Instead, the concept of salad bowl is to make the country like a salad bowl, content vary, mix that one bowl without losing the original shape of its ingredient. Paprika still looks like paprika, cabbage still looks like cabbage if the corn still looks tasty like corn. Even so, as a dish, salads are still delicious. Just choose the dressing, 1000 Island, garlic bread, olive oil, and vinegar. Such picture may occur in nations consisting of various ethnic groups or ethnic groups. The Japanese are allowed to develop a behave according to their Japanese culture. The Acehnese give freedom to behave and culture according to their ethnicity, and so on. To term Indonesian, it's just dressing for a salad called Indonesia. People from Bali are still have Balinese, who from Ambon still have their identity of Ambonese, and so on. However, they still feel that they are a large group let's group a Kalet national Indonesia. Just like salad, its other ingredients still look its original shape, but they are arranged in one dish called salad. Over time, these two concepts often experience failure and weakness in their application. Melting pot is attempted to unite all existent culture by melting all culture of its origin. The concept of salad bowl, its original culture is not eliminated but is accommodated and contributes to the nation culture. But cultural interaction have not developed properly, then development a new concept called multiculturalism. Multiculturalism will be the main reference for the recognition for a multicultural society. Because multiculturalism as an ideology will recognize and glorify difference in equality, both individually and culturally. Thus, multiculturalism is needed in the form of peaceful and harmonious community life order, even though it consists of various cultural background. Okay, that's all for me. Thank you.
Asian melting pot. Philippines, Xinjiang part of China, Malaysia, Singapore are genetic and cultural melting pots in the sense that many have various different eccentrics, indigenous and foreign, and their traditions are heavily melted fusion of the diversity. Linguistically and culturally, however, they remain quite multicultural and there is no dominant ethno-linguistic group, while religiously they are dominated by Christianity. One of the core reasons why so much indigenous culture and language persists in these countries is because the first unmixing indigenous people from the core or majority of the population, unlike the previously mentioned countries.
Hello, my name is Dayana Nenitriani. I will explain about United States melting pot. The United States sometimes described as a melting pot in which different cultures have contributed their own distinct flavors to American culture. For example, in the United States, Catholic, Spanish-speaking communities might keep their language and cultural family traditions, but are integrated into the urban community and have embraced the American way of life in many other ways. The melting pot comes from the idea that all of the cultural differences in the United States melt together, as if they were metals being melted down to become a stronger alloy. As immigrants come from all over the world to the United States, they brought pieces of their own cultures with them. Their music, food, fashion, religion, and much more slowly become part of America's culture. For example, pizza came from Italy, but it's hard to think of anything more American than a slice of New York pizza. Rock and roll, blues, and jazz all come from the African American musical traditions, but they are thought of American today. This country welcomes people from all over the world and encourage them to integrate themselves into American society. When an immigrant moves here, they will need to learn about all of America's societal, economic, and cultural norms. For example, if their understanding of English is limited, they are encouraged to take English as second language class or ESL to better communicate with other Americans. That's the reason why Golden Beacon USA exists. We want to help immigrants and refugees learn about the United States so they can succeed here. Okay, that's all from our presentation. Thank you for attention and see you.